In this module, we will discuss about the requirements to get an ETOPS approval, and the definitions used in ETOPS operations. Operating an aircraft on a route that contains a point, further the threshold time from an adequate airport, is considered as ETOPS operations. It requires that the aircraft is designed and certified for the intended ETOPS operations. A training program has been established for flight crew and any personnel involved in the intended ETOPS operations. Dispatchers, maintenance staff. The operator established operating procedures, and the operator demonstrates its ability to support such operations, with respect to its organization and experience, to be approved. As mentioned previously, the aircraft must have been designed and approved to meet the ETOPS requirements. This is the responsibility of the aircraft manufacturer, to demonstrate the reliability of the aircraft in order to obtain the ETOPS type design approval from the authorities. The certification focuses on an airframe systems engine combination. Any deviation from the aircraft baseline to enable an ETOPS certification must be contained in the Configuration, Maintenance and Procedure Standards (CMP) document. The CMP is validated by the authorities. The process to be ETOPS certified is long, but the experience already gained on similar systems or engines helps to reduce this process. The reliability of the propulsion system is the heart of ETOPS. A twin-engine aircraft must demonstrate that it can operate with a high overall level of safety. The probability of a double-engine failure from independent causes must be lower than defined limits, which depends on the maximum authorized diversion time. An in-flight shutdown IFSD rate objective is set accordingly. The IFSD rates are monitored for a particular airframe engine combination. The monitoring takes into account the world's fleet on a 12-month moving average, in order to maintain, improve or downgrade the ETOPS approval. An early ETOPS request enables the manufacturer to obtain an ETOPS approval at entry into service (EIS), with no or little previous experience. In this case, the process requires extensive maturity and reliability demonstrations, such as ground tests, specific flight tests, with different scenarios of endurance with all engines operative or OEI, and degraded system configurations. Analysis of the lessons learned from previous program, and technology and experience transfers gained from previous program in the new aircraft design. Aside from delivering thrust, engine supply electrical, hydraulic and pneumatic power to the associated systems. An engine failure on a twinjet lead to the loss of half of the power supply. The aircraft design must integrate reliable and/or redundant systems to recover a good overall level of operational safety. What do you see as the potential systems concerned by ETOPS requirements? All the following systems are concerned. Click on the systems to get more details about the design requirements. The ETOPS approval for each aircraft is indicated in the Airplane Flight Manual, AFM. In the Configuration, Maintenance and Procedures document, CMP. In the Operator's Fleet List, in the Operations Manual. The ETOPS restrictions also have to be implemented in the MEL, and an ETOPS marking may be applied on the nose wheel door under FAA or certain NAA requirements. Having an ETOPS certified aircraft is not sufficient to operate ETOPS flights. The operator is responsible for obtaining an ETOPS operational approval that is granted by its NAA. NAA's ETOPS criteria may differ from the EASA and FAA ones, and the operator must comply with them. The implementation of ETOPS operations for an operator implies a new organization on flight crew, maintenance, dispatch practices, and flight operations, procedures and documentation. The operator must also nominate and train key personnel to acquire ETOPS experience. The operator has to establish a training program dedicated to flight crews to be approved by the NAA. Any flight crew involved in ETOPS operations must complete current training in accordance with the routes to be operated. In addition to a ground course, ETOPS line flights under supervision and line checks can also be requested by the authorities. In case of ETOPS approval, where a mandatory recovery plan is required, cabin crew must follow a specific training. Maintenance practices dedicated to ETOPS deal with specific maintenance procedures and limitations for ETOPS. Maintenance plan to include ETOPS items. ETOPS service check for an ETOPS flight dispatch. A monitoring program dedicated to engine and APU oil consumption, and the implementation of a reliability and occurrence reporting program prior the approval, and which must be continued during in-service. A maintenance training program dedicated to ETOPS specificities must be also established and approved. The operator must also modify its dispatch practices to include ETOPS requirements. It deals with ETOPS procedures, ETOPS operations, such as area of operation, routes, alternate airports, flight planning specificities, like weather study and MEL consequences, in-flight procedures related to flight monitoring, communication and decision-making process, and recovery plans, if requested by the approval authority. In fact, all the operator's documentation have to be updated with ETOPS practices and specificities. The Aircraft Operations Manual, AOM. The Airplane Flight Manual, AFM. The FCOM, and the MEL. Please, find in your FCOM the dedicated part to ETOPS procedures. According to the operator's experience, there are two methods to obtain an ETOPS approval: the in-service ETOPS approval, and the accelerated ETOPS approval. The first one requires in-service experience. The maximum diversion time is gradually increased according to the gained experience. The second one does not require any previous experience. It is based on the fact that reliable ETOPS processes are already in place with other aircraft or engines. In this case, the operator can obtain an ETOPS approval up to 180 minutes maximum diversion time at entry into service.